This is a very packed share. I never get to finish it. So this is a room of Bnei Torah, so we can talk very fast. And the parts that aren't, so that we don't have to go so slow, we can go fast. And Mitzvah Hashem, I want to get the whole thing done. I want to add in the Kuda also that for this week's parasha, one of the most random things in the world, in the Uriyos cover the Mishkan. Right, there's 10 Uriyos of 4 amas each. The Mishkan was 30 long and 10 high, so to cover it, you have to have 30 and 10, 40, the Uriyos had to be 40.
30 and 10?
Right, the Mishkan the Kodesh was 20 by 10, and then the Kodesh Goshen was 10 by 10, a square. So in a row, meaning until the Paroiches, which separated the Kodesh and the Kodesh Kedoshim, was a room of 20 by 10. That had the Aron, that had the Mizbeach Hazov, the Menorah, and the Shulchan, and then Lifnai and Lifnim in the Kodesh Kedoshim was the Aron, right? You read this like back in 4th grade. So the whole thing, therefore, was 20 by 10, and 10 by 10 was 30 by 10. So the Uriyos that had to cover it covered from the front. The front was open, so the whole roof is 30, and 10 hung over the back. So it was 10. So the Uriyos were 40. The Uriyos made out of 10 Uriyos, all of them 4 amas wide, and they were all connected in a chain. That was the colorful Uriyos. The Tchelas, Argamon, Tlashoni, Sheish, Izim. With the Sheish. The Izim, the second layer, there were 3 Uriyos, 3 coverings. 3, the Oil Amoyed, what they're called, they're different names, whatever. Rashi gets into it. But, the Pasuk says it. But the second covering was longer. It had 11 Uriyos of 4 amas each. So instead of being 40, it was 44 amas. So you had 4 extra amas. What did that 4 extra amas do? So in the pasuk talks about it. It's called the serach ha'oidev, the extra fabric that hung over. So it's an interesting thing. The serach ha'oidev, it hung over the back of the. So there's a shiloh whether it hit the ground and went like this, like whatever. But it was like we'll see. That's like just a random thing, interesting thing. The serach ha'oidev, why Uriyos had to be longer. The second one. Based on this year, it's like the most unbelievable, maybe the coolest idea I ever. The trippiest thing in the whole Torah is the Serach Ha'odev based on this year. Okay, so that's a little bonus for people who have bigger hasagas than to talk about Vashti's tale. But Vashti's tale is an important shir for a few reasons. It's really a shir on men and women, on shidduchim, on dating, but it's also a very useful shir for people who have, like Chazal. When we're kids, we learn what do we learn in yeshiva? You learn every weird Chazal. That's what they teach us. Everyone knows that Vashti grew a tail, and Moshe jumped 10 amas, and he had a mat of 10 amas, and he hit Oig in the ankle, right? We know. This is what we learn, because it's geschmack for kids. But then you're left, when you get older, like, how to wrap your head around what Chazal are doing. So this is the best example to give a shir. I really one day I have a dream to go through all the Agadas, and write pshat and Agada, because the real pshat is so mind blowing that you don't need to. People think that to take away from the pasha pshat, to take it away from literal pshat, to learn it as a metaphor, then you're limiting Chazal. But when you realize that the metaphor is so much trippier and so much deeper and so much more insightful than the literal thing is what's cheapening Chazal. You'll see this is a good example. It's like if we could do for all of the Agadas what we're going to do for Vashti's tale, it'll be a good taylis. Okay, so we're trying to kill a lot of birds with this stone. So let's start over here. The main thing is it's almost Rosh Chodesh Adar. This is the intro to Purim, to get to see Purim in mamish a whole different light. So the Megillah really, my chiddush is the Megillah is the main story and a little subplot in the beginning. There's 2 stories going on, and there's a macrocosm and a microcosm story. The first story we see in the Megillah starts off with Achashverosh's big party, Sudas Achashverosh, this amazing Suda, the best Suda in history, endless Suda. At the Suda, he asks that Vashti, the queen, should come bekeser malchus. Chazal say dafka only bekeser malchus. Vashti says no. They don't know what to do. It's a whole tumult. Haman's Achashverosh's advisor Memuchan says this can't work like this. The women are all going to get a whole attitude out of this. They're going to say, and we have to Liois Kolish Soyer Bebeisai. Vashti has to be killed. You'll find him do whatever. Achashverosh likes the idea, and he has Vashti killed. Chazal, the first Chazal I want to talk about in the story is an interesting Chazal. Just Chazal say that Memuchan, who gives the Eitzah to kill Vashti, everyone knows the Chazal, Memuchan is Haman. Right? You familiar? Memuchan is Haman. It's a very random Chazal. Like, how many times does it say Haman in the Megillah? There's no shortage of mentions of Haman's name. What would it have been Feldheim if it would have said one more time the word Haman? Why does it call him one time Memuchan? Well, what's the message to let us know that Memuchan is Haman? It's not shy to say Haman. Right? What's the message that one time mentioning Haman, it doesn't call him Haman, it calls him Memuchan? Obviously something significant in that the Megillah, and it's the first time, right? Before we even get to meet Haman, the first time he's called Memuchan. So that's the first story. We know the rest of the story is that, meanwhile, Mordechai, so he ends up killing, like the refuahs before the Makkah, he ends up killing Vashti, and he needs to do queen, he makes this whole beauty pageant, and he ends up marrying Esther, and then it comes in handy because Mordechai is one of the king's, whatever, the people who have shaykhs to the king, he's an advisor, whatever, he's the head of the Sanhedrin, and Mordechai is not koireya mishtachav, he doesn't bow down to Haman. Haman doesn't like that. Kol zeinin shoiveli, Haman is he's the richest guy in the world, the most powerful guy. He's got a wife, he's got 10 sons, he has every bracha in the world. Bonim chayim mezoyni, he has everything. But a kol zeinin shoiveli, it's worth nothing as long as Mordechai Yehudi is not koireya umishtachav. And he comes up with an eitzah, he has to kill Mordechai and all of his nation. And it works out in the end that because Esther's the queen, they get saved. Okay. So what I wanted to do like this is first, my first question? My first question is, let's wrap our heads around what's going on by the Sudas Achashverosh. It's very easy to say Achashverosh is an oisvar, if he's a lowlife, he's a drunk, and that's why he asks his wife to come to Keser Malchus. But it does need a hesber, like why, like he's a king, and she's the queen. No matter how low you are, you don't bring the queen to expose yourself in front of all the whole world. Like no matter how low of a king you are, there's a muslik of a king, and this is the queen. Like maybe there's a reason, but it deserves to be spoken about. Like it's just like given in the story. Like how do you understand the idea that does it bother you? Is it just he's a third? Like it's very hard to understand how Achashverosh would. He understands how Malchus is, right? So what's pshat? So I think this is the pshat. The pshat is like the main yesod of the whole shir. There's no punchline. We're starting with the punchline. The main yesod of the whole shir is the reason someone throws parties is you need a lot of alcohol, and a lot of noise, and a lot of party. It's the ultimate escape. That's what a party is. A party is, you know my Torah? I don't know what I said here, what I didn't say. The first line I say on any campus when I go to a campus. I must have said it already over here. Right? I said that? The first line, I go to a new campus, I was never there. What do you say? The kids are in the room because somebody bought free pizza. They're not there for a shir. They're there at the shir because you bought pizza. So you have 3 minutes to capture their interest. So the first thing I say in the shir is I go, Chevra, you think I'm here? I'm a rabbi, came to campus. You think I'm here? Why? Like you're not even listening because you know why I'm here. Why is the rabbi on campus? You think I'm here to tell you don't go to clubs. That's what you all think. Right? That's what everybody thinks the rabbi is here to do. To rain on your parade. Right? So I just want to be very, very clear with you that the reason I came to campus is to tell you don't go to clubs. There's no bait and switch. You're not wrong. That's why I came. The reason why I have to give this talk is because you have no idea why. You have a total you think you know why I'm going to say it. You think you know everything. You have a total misunderstanding. You think the reason why rabbis say don't go to clubs is why? It's too much gashmias. It's too much physicality. Be more spiritual, less physical. Be more about your soul than your body. Be more about the world to come than this world. Be more kaddish. Don't be so grub and so low and so giving too much fun and too shallow and the simcha mazay oisa. Even the Shlomo says that. What are you doing? What are you having so much fun for? Like that's what everybody thinks. That be more spiritual over physical. That's what everybody thinks, and that's what rabbis here to do. Like, don't be a lowlife. Be grace. And that is the biggest lie in the world. That has nothing to do. I'm here to tell you don't go to clubs, but not for that reason. We believe that the entire purpose of Judaism is that you should party. You should have joy. The entire reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world is to give you simcha. This is the whole bria is one big party. That's how from people look at the bria. This is the sudas, not Achashverosh. The better party planner. It's God's suda. That's how we see the world. This is the purpose of life, is to smile ear to ear. Why am I telling you don't go to clubs? Because the secret is that nobody ever went to a club to be happy. The reason you go to clubs is because every year they get darker and louder. It's a place to hide from everything you wanted to be when you still believed in yourself. All your dreams of joy and greatness that you had when you were young, you don't believe that's going to happen. You don't believe you deserve it. You don't believe it's going to work for you. And therefore, for the next 80 years, you need to be somewhere dark and loud so you never think about that. Because the thoughts of what you wanted cause you endless tsar. And that's what clubs are. And we're against clubs not because they're fun and not because they make you happy. We're against clubs because they're robbing you from your joy. Joy is the experience of becoming everything you ever wanted to be. And if you're going to succeed at being somewhere dark and loud and drowning out the voice of your dreams, then you'll never be anything. So I'm here to tell you don't go to clubs because I want you to have the party. I want life to be nothing but simcha. That's old Torah. It's Aleph Beis my Torah, right? So what's the aside? So Achashverosh is created the ultimate club, the first club, endless alcohol, endless everything. The problem is that it's impossible to let go. With all the billions of dollars he spent on the Suda, all the music, all the alcohol, all the food, the party is worthless. Why? Because if there's a princess in the room or in the palace, then you can't let go. When there's a princess, you have to slay dragons. When there's a princess, you can't just be afraid. There's a princess. When the princess walks in the room and everybody's partying, everyone like fixes their tie and sits in their hands like a little tatala busted. That's how we all act. So you know what it's like to spend billions of dollars on a party and plan it out for months, and then everyone's sitting there and there's like a limit, like the roadblock. The party can't go past some little the hors d'oeuvres. Everyone's sitting there with their little tuxes and their hors d'oeuvres, and they're waiting to like take their shoes off and let go. So everyone's saying like the queen, like one guy starts like talking loud, and they go, and even she's not there, she's in the palace. Like the musik of a queen is an ikov. By the way, this is what a queen is. A queen represents to the entire nation everything good and noble. She's the princess. And that's what our nation embodies us. And that's the honor for the queen. So if you need to have this crazy Vilda Suda, what has to happen? So either the queen stays and we all eat with silverware and we dance some like refined, we dance the men in one circle, the women in another circle, in mechitza, or something else has to happen. It says, Achashverosh's Eitzah, the queen has to come. Bekeser Malchus. What? Achashverosh's idea that the queen is that in order for the party to go on, the queen has to lose her dignity. The need for hefkerus, the need to silence our dreams is so great, it's impossible. The queen has to go. The party requires the degradation of the queen. If she doesn't come Bekesa Malchus, then everyone has to be a tatala. And that's Mamuchan Zeitza. Liyais kol ish soyer b'beisai. In order for men to chill, in order for men to be free, In order to men to be able to live without restriction, Vashti either has to degrade herself or she's got to be killed. But a dignified woman is not possible to someone who needs to escape. If you are meyayish on being all your dreams, then the woman becomes untenable. You hear this till here? That's the aside. And this is the aside of what Malchus is, and this is the aside of why they need to degrade her. And Haman and Memuchan's Eitzah is therefore either there's two options. Becoming great, my she'ifas is not an option. I'm meyayish on them. So and this is true for everyone in your olam cotton in your own life. When someone is meyayish on his dreams, so then he needs dark and loud for the rest of his life, because the dreams don't go away. The dreams are still there, but it's not going to happen. So I'm going to live with the tsar my rest of my life of facing all my dreams, right? It's not possible. That tsar is unbearable. So that's why we go dark and loud. You have to be able to distract yourself. The problem is that as good as you are at dark and loud and everything, if a queen walks in, it ruins the whole dark and loud. It's like a flashlight in the movie theater, and there's light. So what do you have to do? You have to kill the queen. If she won't degrade her, either she'll degrade herself, or okay. That's the small story. What's the big story in the Megillah? The big story in the Megillah is Haman represent. That's a little story on a Suda. But this is a much bigger story in the universe. The bigger story in the universe is that there's a nation called Amalek, which is about Mikra. Asher korcha baderach, leitzonus. It's just making fun of every single thing valuable. Amalek is dark and loud. Is that there's no purpose, there's no meaning, there's no achdus, it's all mafuzar, mafurad, it's all narishka, it's all random. Amalek's mantra is random. Whatever. Nothing matters. That's Amalek's mantra. The Yidden represent the opposite. Everything's chashuv, everything's important. This is the Milchama. The Milchama of Amalek versus the Yidden is the Milchama of your Yush versus your dreams. The Yidden represent, that's the whole life. This is all our shiurim up to here. This was the aside. Your Yetzer Toiv is your dreams, your Yetzer Hara is your fears. The world is the Gan. You're supposed to be living lichtig in the Gan. You have she'ifas to live in the Gan, and you want to hide. On the law, and that's, so Klal Yisrael's role in the world is to be the voice to the world of don't be afraid, live, dream. Amalek is the other Rashis Goyim Amalek. Klal Yisrael is Nikarashis. The other, the evil force, the good side and the bad side is Klal Yisrael Amalek. Amalek's message is what? Is that there's no dreams. It's all a joke. It's all random. Nothing matters. Nothing happens. That's the war. And Baruch Hashem, not Baruch Hashem, so cynically, that Haman has a life of every single distraction in the world. He's got power and riches and everything. He has the best club in the world. He has everything, the best escape in the world. There's no escape like covet. Covet is the best escape. Power. But then one guy doesn't bow. Mordechai doesn't bow. One person doesn't bow. What does that one person not bowing do? Like, how is it possible you could have every single thing in the world and one guy not bowing ruin Einei Shaitali? Everything I have is worthless. Does it make sense to you? It makes total sense. It's the exact same way. How could one queen ruin the entire party of Achashverosh? Right? It's an obvious thing. One person saying, one person who's not buying the lie unmasks the whole thing. The club only works if it's dark and loud. If someone comes in and turns the lights on, everyone looks at what they're doing and they barf. You can't face yourself, right? That was never my scene. But when I say this in the shir to college kids, I go, "Well, imagine what happens if you're in the club and something goes and the electric goes off, and all of a sudden all the lights go on." And they all look at each other, even telling the story, they all cringe in the room, they all get it, like nobody wants to see who they were, making pretend they're a hero with. It only works when you can't see them, when the lights come on, everyone's gagging, and even I'm literally when I say I've done it many times. This musik when the lights go on, that is what a queen is by a party, and that is what Mordechai is. What Vashti is to Sudas Achashverosh is what Mordechai is to Haman's life. It's the big picture. In the big picture, the whole idea of randomness, that's the club. In my personal life, I need to run to a club. What is the universal club? A national club. What's the bigger version of a club? And when the world wants to be Ayash. All the ideologies of that nothing matters. Right? The Amalek's ideology, this whole thing, wealth and power and all these things, that's what you escape. But when one guy walks in, I'll tell you a brutal story. Someone asked me to speak to an elder Bacher once, and he stopped dating. Someone in the family said, speak to the guy. Guys come, such straight cups when they get older. It's like the hardest ask to get me to talk to one of these guys. A lot older than anybody here. I'm not talking about what?
How old?
He was probably, probably 35, close to 35, over 30 for sure, close to 35. But he stopped dating with all the lines. What's the lines? All my married friends are miserable. The girls just want money. You know, like all the lines. So there's no bigger waste of time than talking to that guy. But I didn't have a choice. I went to speak to the guy. I said, I'll speak to him. And I told the guy, I said, listen, I said, I'll be honest with you. I hear all the lines. And I'll tell you a vote. I told him this vote with the club, the dark and loud. Okay? So the dark and loud. And I said, listen, I get it. Like, why am I bothering you? If I believe that all your lines, you don't get married, your friends are miserable, if I believed it worked for you and you weren't suffering, then I would leave you alone. I don't call you tzar, I have to force you to do something. If I believed that you really were able to live with that, then I'm not going to burst your balloon. Go ahead. I can't believe that you really believe in it really works. I said, don't tell me that when there's nobody around. That's what you're good for telling me and getting me out of your face. I'll leave. I'm going to leave in 10 minutes. I said, that works. But for you, it's not working. So maybe let's come up with a different answer. Like, your answer's not working. So the story hit him. We were talking like it was nice. And so he got very real. He told me the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, you have to be like deep. He said it's such an ironic thing. He goes, it does work for me. I said, I made one change in my life, and now it works. I said, let me hear, what's the change? What do you do? Let's market it. The whole world wants to hide from their stuff. you have a gold mine here. Let's copyright it. Let's patent it. So here's what he tells me. It's the saddest thing I ever heard in my life. When someone tells them they don't really mean it, they can't say straight out, be real with you, so they make up some stories. Here's what he said. It does work. He goes, I live in the city, and I live on one side of the park, and my office is on the other side. And every day I cut through the park, and to get to my office, it's a beautiful walk, and that's how I used to do. And now, instead of cutting through the park, I walk 10 blocks this way, and then all the blocks this way, and then maybe 20 blocks, and then 20 blocks this way. I circumvent the park, and I get to right across to where I live, across the park. I do the long way. Since I do that, I'm fine. I go, how? Explain it to me. Like, how does that work? 25 minutes of walking is an easy trade-off for peace of mind. What's the trick? He goes, I could buy all my stories, but every day I would get to the side of the park right before my office, right before the end of the park. There's a little swing area where there's swings and seesaws, and every morning before I would get to my office, I would pass by the same mother. She's always there, pushing the kid on the swing. And everything's good in my life. And then when I see the mother pushing the kid on the swing, everything hits me in my stomach. I get this sick feeling. I feel like I'm nauseous and terrified and sweating. And I cut it out. I walk around the park. I don't see her anymore. And now it works. I said, ooh, ouch. I said, I'll give you a hug. I said, but I'll play along. I said, it's a good idea, but you realize that there's other place-sized parks. Like, how do you go like, how do you go shopping, like for Shabbos, Thursday nights, and buy food? There's always mothers with kids in baskets buying nash. He goes, yeah, I never go shopping Thursday night. And I go, and what about Simchas? You know, Simchas? He goes, I don't even open invitations anymore. He said, yeah, it's such a guy way of like opening up, you know? But what's the Vart? It's a very, very heavy thing. The Vart is that we escape with our stories. That we don't. What are you escaping? You're escaping your truths. This one lady pushing that kid in a swing. She's his Mordechai. Kol zeh inenu shoyveli. As long as I see this, everything I worked it out. I'm totally distracted. I never think of I'm single. I never think of what I'm missing until I see this one woman pushing this kid on a swing. Actually, I use this story with this guy. I use it for a much better share. I use it for a share to all these feminist women in the city. I said, let me tell you something. This woman in the park, pushing her kid in the swing, do you think she has any clue how powerful she is? She's pushing kids. Does she know that there's a guy walking 25 extra minutes because of her? He doesn't even know her name. He never saw her face. He just sees her pushing the kid from behind the swing. But he walks 25 minutes every single day to avoid her. You think she knows? Just the opposite. She sits there so overwhelmed with insecurity by all these fancy women with their suits and their little attaché cases or little leather folders running into these fancy big buildings to their corporate offices. And she feels like insecure. I'm just pushing a kid. But she has no idea that it's not just this guy. Every single woman in that building, even though they pay tens of thousands of dollars rent extra to have a parkside view of their office, nobody can go near the window from 9 till 10 when she's in the park with her kid on the swing. And they don't even talk about it. But they all know when the woman's gone. And you know at 10 o'clock all the women somehow find their way, like they're not afraid to go to the window. The entire city is dancing around this woman and she has no idea how powerful she is. She controls the whole world, and never she doesn't know either. She doesn't know either. It's heavy. But what's the Vart? The Vart is that's how you have to understand Kol Zayin and Shoifeli. It's a very real way. Haman represents the ultimate escape, the meaninglessness of life. And you could say the world's meaningless, and you could say it's all narishkeit, and there's no God, and it's all a shtick, and it's all corrupt, and corporations control everything. You can do all your stories. But all those stories work until you see the woman pushing the kid on a swing. And then all the emes comes out. And all your cars and the fancy Bugattis and the custom suits and the Pateks and it's all worthless. Because it's all escapes when you see Mordechai. So what does Haman need to do? He needs to kill Mordechai. Or Mordechai will bow. What happens when Mordechai bows? What happens when the Yidden start worshiping you? Oh my God, can I see your watch? It's like so cool. Is that your car? Can I get a ride in your car? As soon as the people who have the real life start bowing to the people with the fake life, they're validated. But when you're not bowing, you're not even looking at him. You don't even look at his watch. You don't even look at his car. Then his whole world is blown up instantly. You hear this aside? This is what it means at Kol Zayin and Shoifeli. Mordechai has to bow or get killed, which is exactly the same exact story. Now we switch to the first story, the microcosm. The Sudas Achashverosh is the same story. Vashti is the not coming to the party and not degrading herself, saying, I'm not coming, is the Mordechai who's not Kareya Mishtachara. Mordechai has to bow for Haman to have an escape, and Vashti has to bow for all the party to go on. If Mordechai doesn't bow, the entire world of Haman is worthless, and if Vashti doesn't bow, then so Vashti has to get degraded, or we'll kill her. Mordechai has to get degraded, or we'll kill him. Haman says kill Mordechai. Memuchan says to kill Vashti, and that's what Chazal say when they say Memuchan is Haman. Lav dafka Memuchan's really Haman. What are Chazal saying? Much deeper. His name's not Haman, it's a Muchan. But the guy who needs to degrade women, needs to knock them down, is the same guy who needs to degrade the Yid. Mamuchan is Haman. The guy who needs to figure out how to cheapen this girl. I'm going on a date with a girl with a little too much pressure. I have to see if she'll what I could talk about on the date. Like I push the envelope. Can I get Vashti to come to my party, Bekeser Alchas? I'll settle for listening to my Geish music. And I'll feel it out. Right? That need to sort of take this girl, it's too much pressure. When the girl walks into your car on a date, and you it's terrifying because it's just pressure. So you have to see, can I trip her up? Can I knock her down? The guy who needs to cheapen a woman is the same guy who needs to cheapen a Yid. What that Chazal is saying, that Mamuchan is Haman, what are Chazal saying? Chazal are saying that the guy who needs to knock the woman down is a Nazi. He's a Nazi. We all thought Nazis, the worst evil in the world. What's the Nazi? The Nazi is the guy who can't live seeing Jews with their kids walking in the street with matching clothing, and he walks by their house and they're singing Zmiris and they're all smiling and they go shopping and they're buying all this food and the kids are laughing, and his one kid doesn't know if he's a boy or a girl, and the hair is blue, and all his neighbors' kids like rings in every part of their face except their finger. That's the only place on the ring finger there's no ring. Every other part of the body's got a ring. And so when he sees this, when you have to wipe the smile off those Jews. But that's the same hergish. Everybody hates Nazis. We hate people who want to wipe the smile off the Jews. But the way you treat a Beis Yaakov girl, Abbas Yisrael, is exactly the exact same thing. And all of that is in the words that Mamuchan is Haman. It's the most amazing thing. This is the story of the Megillah. The story of the Megillah is that there's no Olam Cotton, Olam Gadol. Olam Cotton, in the Olam Gadol, the war is between Klal Yisrael and the Umais. And the Olam Cotton, it's a war between men and women. And the same way the world needs to wipe the smile off the Yidden and degrade the Yidden, men need to do the same thing to women. And a guy who's a Bar Aliyah is able to mechabed women. And a bacher who's a Bar Aliyah is able to mechabed the girl. And there's no need to knock her down. That's the first yesod. So then comes the big kasha. What are Chazal bothered by? So that's my argument, that the Megillah is a double story. It's the story of men versus women and Goyim versus Yidden. And it coincides by Esther, who's both. And with like the pyramid, where the point meets and both stories are told together. The story of the woman and the Yid, and it's the same. But that's the two things going on in the world. There's the big picture and the small picture. Identical. Literally identical. Except for what? What's the kasha? If it's the same story, how come the endings are different? How come Vashti gets killed and Mordechai and Esther end up running the whole world? But Mordechai didn't bow and Vashti didn't bow. Vashti said no. And Mordechai said no. Vashti gets decapitated and Moshe doesn't. Why is it different? It's the same story. What do we tell girls in Beis Yaakov? If you're going to be a tznuah, if you're not going to let the world cheapen you, you're not going to fall for that, then the guy is going to be forced to get his act together. He's going to try, but if you hold firm, you say, no, I'm not coming to that Suda, change the music, have a break from Mincha. It's a different Suda. Make a siyam, not a party. Then you can have the party. So when the guy realizes she's not caving in, then that's what we tell the girls. We tell the girls, if you don't become matzniyatik, if you don't lose your dignity, you don't give in to that, then you're going to change the world. He's going to become a gibar. The hero slays dragons because the princess is regal. That's what made him slay dragons. He was sitting on the couch watching football. What made him get up to slay dragons? The knowledge of the princess. There's only one thing you get off the couch for, a real princess. And you try and convince her that she's not a real princess. Then you can stay on the couch. But if she doesn't bite and she keeps her princesshood, then you have to get up. So that's the big kasha. What's the teretz la kasha? How come Vashti did everything the Menahel told her?
Who said she did?
What? She said, I'm not coming. They said, the story is very neat. Come bekeser malchus. Haman says, Mordechai bow. Mordechai said no, Vashti said no. If the two stories were identical, it would have the same ending. Right? What would Achashverosh say? Achashverosh would go, busted. Okay, everybody, the party's over. Go home to your wives and kids. Do homework with them. Say Hamalach with you. It's still time to say Hamalach with your kids. Tell them the story. Go home. Do what you have to do. You can go to sleep now. You can be up for Shachris tomorrow. I'm sorry. Everybody go home. That's what Haman should. That's what should have happened when Vashti said no. So this is what Chazal are bothered by. When Chazal don't understand. They go, and the Chazal learning it up, and they go, this doesn't make sense. So what's the answer? We have two answers. What are the two answers? What do they say? Why didn't Vashti come to the Suda? She got pimples or whatever, and she grew a tail. So what the answer is, I look at it like this. I look at it, it's a work in progress this year. I only do it once a year. I only had this Torah for the last couple of years. It's getting a little more refined, but I'm not totally happy with. The first answer is, what are they saying? She got pimples. What are they saying?
She wanted to go.
She wanted to go. She was on her calendar for 4 years. Every day she's pulling off the big party. I'm going to go. I'm going to take Instagram pictures. I'm going to get so many likes. Everyone's going to be looking at me. I'm going to get the best gown. And she doubled up her Ozempic for a few months before the party. And she whatever, the whole thing was like totally ready. Counting the days. And she gets to show off in front of the whole world. This is her day. And then she wakes up and she has a zit on her nose. I'm like, so that's what Chazal is so good. That's all they say. They say, you want to know why they were able to kill her? Because not everyone who doesn't bow is dignified. There's fake dignity. And that's like, the only thing worse than a woman who cheapens herself, this is so deep. The only thing worse than a woman who cheapens herself is the woman who acts regal, fake. The fake princess. We can deal with a woman who degrades herself. And you can deal with a woman who's a princess. But when the degraded woman wants to be a princess, that's the red line for everybody. Everybody wants to fix her wagon. And that's, Chazal saying in one word. Princess, she grew pimples. And the other day, Chazal says she grew a tail. What are they saying? So, the way I have it now, it's the same answer. What's the answer? What's a tail? Chazal say she grew a tail, so you want to know what it means. You have to be able to define a tail. What are they saying? And if she really grew a tail, still, why did Hashem make her grow a tail? You can't have pshat in this and you just know what a tail is. What's a tail? How do you define a tail? What do you think a tail is? So you Google it, and you'll find out. You see, Google, whatever, you find out the shallowness of the world. Google will say, every animal. I asked Google, what is the purpose of a tail? Well, it depends on the animal. Cats use tails for balance. Monkeys use it to swing from trees. Horses use them as fly swatters. Every animal finds a different function for tails. But Mirzen b'nei Teireh, so we know, a Lamdin knows, there's not 30 reasons for one thing. There's one reason. What is the universal answer for what is a tail that applies to all animals? Yes, maybe animals find secondary uses. But there's not 30 reasons for something. There's one reason for something. If you can't find one reason, maybe there's two. But first, you have to try to find one. Can you figure out a common denominator of all tails? Nobody?
I already heard the share.
What?
I already heard
okay,
the share.
He's an honest guy. Most guys, and I like most guys, they listen to the share and they scream it out before anyone gets a chance. And rocket scientists, what do you mean? You heard the share? It's very deep. You have to explain why people do that. Like they know. You know what it's like? It's like it's very deep. It's like the Torah by Yoina. You know Survey Yoina? When Yoina's on the boat, he's running. You know the whole story of Yoina? A lot of guys don't know this stuff. When Yoina's running away from the Rebbeinu Shalom, he doesn't want He doesn't want
Give
to give Musa to Nineveh. He doesn't want to save them. So he goes in the ship. Hashem makes a whole storm, and he only knows it's his fault. So he tells he wants to say, and he tells him it's me. You're all going to die because of me. They say, what should we do? They say, throw me in the water. But that's not what he says. He says, Sa'uni, pick me up, v'hitiluni. Sa'uni v'hitiluni. Pick me up and throw me in. So I forgot which one. One of the Bali Musa, Chaim Shlevitz, or Yerucham. It's amazing. You ever learn Bali Musa, like the Al Torah? He says, what do you have to say, Sa'uni? Pick me up. Just say, throw me in the water. He goes, you're going to kill me, but give me one last, pick me up one last time. I'm about to die. You still need Sa'uni, I need you to lift it up one more time. Even though it's fake, you're not lifting me up for cover. That's why I'm saying it's the same thing. The guy who gets to say, I have the answer, even though you just heard in the shir, he wants to be picked up in the shir, even though he knows it's fake. Everyone knows it's fake. You're just throwing me in the water. But I get picked up, I get picked up. And it's the same side. It's a very deep thing that we have that need. Even when we know it's fake, we want it so much. So uni v'hitiluni.
To clarify, he's not that.
What?
He's not that.
No, he didn't. He could have. He was like,
I'm not that. No, but unless I knew you were going to say this.
It was mom.
Because I heard this during another shit.
I alley-ooped him it. I looked at him, and he still didn't do it. He's like the anti. And when it comes out, that's the real Sauni. The real Sauni is the guy who. It's very deep. There's two different Saunis. Where do you see that in the Torah? Yosef tells the same lashon to both the Sarah Mashkim and the Asar Oifim. Ba'oid shloisha yamim, Yisa Hashem es roishcha. He will lift your head, ve'yishivcha al kanecha, and he'll put you back on your throne. Tells the Sarah Mashkim, in 3 days Hashem will lift up your head and put you on your throne. This is Torah for Parashas Shkolim this week. Nosai is roish. When you count Yidden, you have to count them using a chatzi shekel because of this problem. Because Yisa Hashem is roishcha, ve'shivcha al kanecha, and what does he tell the Sarah Oifim? Yisa ba'oid shloish liyamim, the same thing. Yisa Hashem is roishcha, me'alecha. He will lift your head from on you. So there's two different Yisa Hashem is roishcha. Pick up your head and put you back in, make you big, and pick up your head from your guf. So when you hear the word, there's a very dangerous thing to raise up someone, to single them out from the tzibur. And that's a dangerous thing. So therefore you have to give a shekel, you have to whatever, but this is whatever. All this had to happen so we can say a word for Parashas Shkolim. All right, is you with me?
Yeah.
So tail. So you say them a tail. We're ahead of schedule. We're good.
Yeah.
What's a tail? Nobody can figure it out.
A hint?
I just give you so much time here to figure it out. I'll give you a hint. I should give him a hint. You can give him the hint.
Where is every tail?
Yeah. Cover something up. Spare tire.
The tail is the Rebbeinu Shalom provided even the animal kingdom with a modicum of tznius. It's a kisui erva. It covers. It's a kisui. That's what a tail is. It's epis something, a beginning haschal of tznius. Some kind of that's what a tail is. It's a beautiful thing to think about that, but. The coolest thing is, I said this already, I think last year in the Shir Chavtis, but everyone knows that the chazan, you know the mustig of an Easter egg? You ever heard of it? In movies, there's Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Like
What's
a
The
find?
secret.
Fine, like the people make movies, they put in little things that only the mumchim, the people who are totally into it, pick up on it. You have to like a little shtick. So the Rebbeinu Shalom, I think, and I'm not being mezalzel, I hope, puts Easter. He obviously doesn't call them Easter eggs. But he puts afikoimens all over the Torah for you to search for them and find them. And when you find the afikoimens, you get a lot of points. So I found one of the afikoimens. Here's an afikoimen. The afikoimen that I found is he puts not in Torah in the whole bria. everyone knows that a chazer is the joke because it fakes. It's the only animal that has split hooves and doesn't chew its cud. So it shows externally that it's kosher, but really it doesn't chew its cud. It's fake on the inside. It's just on the outside. So it's saying that the whole side of a tail is that it covers the erva, and it's a marker tznius. A chazer, the rear view of the chazer, is a much better vart of chazer than the front view. The chazer, when you look at the other side, it's one big rear end, a big pink rear end, and it has this little squiggly joke of a tail that covers nothing. It's mamish just like a joke. It's the best joke ever. If you chop what a tail does. So from the front, it's fake legs like it's kosher. From the back, it's a fake tail. It's from both sides. The chazer is just a bankrupt fake poser. That's the Shema Mishpach. He's a poser. It's amazing. And when you chop it, that's what a tail is. You look at the chazer. It's like a joke that the Rebbeinu Shalom told that nobody laughed at until today.
Is he the only animal like that?
What?
Is he the only animal like that?
Well, you'll see. Mashir is another animal, but that's where I'm going next. That's going next. But you hear
Don't have a tail?
what?
They have a little
The
tail.
little tiny tail doesn't do anything.
Who?
No, it's furry.
No.
Rabbit's got
Tails are
cute little
Bushy
tails.
tails.
It's short, but
Oh,
it's
bushy,
the
though.
tail. It's there.
Furry and
If anything, the cats and the monkeys, they hold it up. It's like
well, they go. Animals can hold it up and down depending on the mood they're in, wagging the tail between their legs. These are when they're shamed and it's very deep when they're when's what. But this is just it's a special thing to laugh at their Rebbeinu Shalom's jokes. It's like it's a huge avodah, like to do the Ratzon Hashem. So when Hashem wants you to cry, we cry kind of hard. But when he wants you to laugh, you got to laugh. And I'm sure that if you laugh properly when he wants you to laugh, then he'll give you more things to laugh at, less things to cry about. So the Rebbeinu Shalom, we chop the joke. Send us more reasons for laughter. Okay? You like that? Okay. So now we know what a tail is. A tail is nature's tznius. It's inherent in even an animal. So I think again you have time till next year or till even Purim to make it better. But what I'm going to give you now is there. So that's Chazal talk. I told you last week the way Chazal talk. You get used to Chazal. Chazal just very, very sharp. We don't chop how sharp they are. Last week we said why Rachav is a Zaina, and Rashi says because she sold Zaina, she had a bakery. Right? Is that on tape? I don't know if it's on tape. Yeah?
oh, I don't know.
It's not a public tape.
What? Not public, but then I'll say it's kosher, right? We know Rachel was a Zaina. Everyone knows she was a Zaina. Chazal say it in 100 places. Why is Rashi hiding it? So the word was, Chazal don't mean that she had a bakery. The difference between Mezainis and Hamaitzi is you have to wash and bench. You have to eat Kadei Suda. Mezainis is where you don't want to sit down. You can't make a commitment to a Suda. So Rashi's saying, what's a Zaina? Why is she called a Zaina? Because she's selling cookies. It's just for people who just want snacks. If you're not ready to sit down and have a whole meal, Rashi's explaining why a Zaina is called a Zaina. Not saying she really had a bakery. She's a Zaina. A Zaina is called a Zaina because she's selling Mezainas. She's Mezainas bread. And that's why Yosef tells Eshes Potiphera, how can you do this? Your husband put me in charge of the whole house except you because you're the Lechem Asher Roichel. What does that even mean, Lechem Asher Roichel? What Yosef is saying is that you have a husband who married you and put a ring on your finger, made a commitment. You're going to trade that for a cheap fling? It's ridiculous. It's not a good investment. Somebody made a commitment to you. You're lechem. Anyway, so here. So Chazal say that Rachav. So you have to appreciate Chazal. So what are Chazal saying? They're saying Rachav's selling cookies. Oh, she's selling cookies. Oh, she's got a bakery. It's a sharf line, right? A cheap woman is a bakery. That's what you're saying. It's an amazing line. So when you chap that Chazal took this, and you understand that when Vashti is coming in, like she's a ganza. She's the biggest prutza in the world, and all of a sudden now she's going, I can't come to the party. So you go, ooh, she grew a tail. She got pimples, and then she grew a tail. You don't grow a tail. The part is a tail. See, a woman doesn't. it's already maybe a step deeper. Chazal say that Selah that Hashem created Chava from was one day is that it was all of them had a tail. And he made Chava, Gemara and Brachas, that he created Chava from the tail, the Zonov. The tail was Selah. So that's amazing to understand that the woman was created, her foundation, her haschala, is the one ruchniistic thing in the world. The whole bria is just bria. Then there was one thing ruchni, the tail. The tail is the only thing in the olam hagashmi that is inherently ruchni, because it's a kisur. What?
So that means it's a good thing that Vashti grew a tail.
No, it's a joke. You grew a tail. Oh, you grew it. It means you're not really a tznuah. It's fake. It's just like pin the tail on a donkey. Like it's like
sarcastic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's total sarcastic. Oh, look who grew a tail. That's it. You have to when you have to Chazal talk like this, then you can't wait to see more agadas. You have to just know that the sharp Chazal was sharp, and they say such huge things. So they're explaining the whole huge musik here, how someone could be a tznuah and nobody's buying it. This is Vash, and that's called growing a tail. Oh, nice, you grew a tail. I see you grew a tail today. Good for you. How's it fit? Okay, I think your tail's a little tight. Whatever, you have to get the next size. Whatever, like that's the pshat in Vashti's tail. Rashi's tale is explaining how someone could be a tznuah and not work. So now I want to take you on a trip that only Bnei Torah will appreciate.
Well, so ultimately, she was a pruta.
Yeah, that's what Chazal explains. Both Chazal, the pages of Chazal, are explaining how she could be killed even though she said no. And the answer is she got pimples. That's why she didn't come, not because of any kind of dignity. Nobody saw her as refined and dignified. She's a fraud. She grew a tail. This was not yesterday and not going to be tomorrow.
She didn't really say no.
What? She didn't really say no. Well, she said no, but it was like batting around. No, like you know, kind of know. You know, I can't. I'm not so good. Whatever. Baruch Hashem, I can't do that. If I was able to pull that off, it would have been a bigger problem. Okay.
Could you tie that into how she answers the servants that came to her? She had a whole lot of them.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I have to go through the Chazal. I don't remember the Chazal. Right, there's the whole. First of all, the different Chazals. The Chazals are all illustrating different points in the story, or different, and they don't have to all stem with each other necessarily. They stem, they stem, but not they're not one. Because it's not. I'm not saying it's literally the dialogue. I don't say she really grew a tail. Maybe she did, and you could still say she grew a tail. I'm not here to. She grew a tail, and they're saying why she grew a tail because it's like that's what she was doing. You were growing a tail. It's like just, but you don't have to say she really grew it. The vart is much deeper than the tail. It's a whole world class yisoid, one of the most important deeds in the world. That fake dignity is not dignity. Fake dignity is ekeldik, right? Okay. So now let's go on the trip. This is just whatever I say here. You have to do your own things with it, but it's just going to open up the whole Torah at a whole different level. So there's one animal. When you get to Vayikra in a few weeks, we'll see the karbanos. So the most valuable carbon, what's the most valuable part of the carbon? You know, the Gemara talks about it. What's the valuable part? The aliyah. The aliyah is fatty. It's the tail. Tail is the most choshev thing from the carbon. Now we know why. The aliyah represents ruchnius. It's what he add the transition from animal to the hoidnikite. It's choshev. So, by the way, I probably should really give a shir about why covering, but we're going to do men and women from here on in the next few weeks, so we'll get into see this properly. But why covering is holy? Why is covering holy? Why isn't exposure real? Authenticity. It's important sugyas, you know. Why are clothing? You have to understand there's different levels of what clothing are. There's begodim and levut malbushim. There's different words, and there's different reasons. Levushim are for busha, lebusha, but by the kohen there was two extra reasons. Lekavod u'lesefaras, next week's parsha, right in Tetzaveh. So there's busha, kavod, and sefaras, which is, but maybe with that next week we'll do tziyah shir. and talk about the covenant of Faris. It'd be very good share, very good thing to talk about covering versus being whatever. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. But for now, so
Getting dressed up.
what?
Getting dressed up.
I hear. We'll see. Maybe not. Okay.
What's the Ben Terra one?
What?
What does Ben Terra part?
No, so we had just trippy tires. We're gonna have to go very fast. So what was I saying? What was the last thing I said? I said that
Fake regalness.
the fake regalness is a tail. So that's why the aliyah is the most valuable part of carbon. But if you look in the psukim, it's very busy in Vayikra that a keves has an aliyah. It talks about the keves, there's an aliyah, Yeseres, Akave, it goes through all the parts, aliyah. When it gets to an A's, by the Izim, the goats, it doesn't talk about the aliyah on the Mizbeach. Right? What? You know this? It's your parasha, you Vayikra?
Just appreciate it.
What? No, but by a A's, there's no aliyah. Why not? Says Machlekes in the Gemara why it doesn't say an aliyah by an A's. One mandamer says because an A's doesn't have an aliyah. There's no tail on the goat. Goats don't have tails. And the other mandamer says goats do have tails, but they're not. They're short and they whatever. They don't go on the mizbeach. They're not brought in the mizbeach. It doesn't pass. So it's machlekes in Metzias. Does it have a tail? Does it not have a tail? Right? No machlekes in Metzias and Chazal. It's all machlekes are in thought. The Metzias, they'll look at an A's, they'll say, does it have a tail? So I Googled it. Does a goat have a tail? Right? So what it says is that goats have very short tails that don't actually cover anything. Oh, what? They only go up. So when it says it's a short tail that only goes up, so now you know that's the machlekes. One man number says that's not called a tail because it doesn't do a tail's job, and the other man number says it is a tail, it's just not a holy tail because of mizbeach. That's pshat. But the aside is that a goat in A's doesn't have a tail.
If you have a limp arm, is it not an arm because it doesn't do the job of an arm?
A tail is, well, that's machlekes. That's a good shayla. What man number said is don't. You call it something else. An arm is a zroya natuya, a yad chazaka. It's a yad means something. If you're using the word arm in English, because in English an arm doesn't mean anything. But if I tell you that the Hebrew name connotes strength, agility, ability, and your thing doesn't have ability, then the name you have to find a different name because it's not that.
It's a bad example. You have a guy who's brain dead. You can see his head's not a head.
You're gonna bring it on
It's not his head.
It's a
You're
whole
bring it on his
species.
back. No, the whole point is bring it on his back. It's over chashuv. A brain dead would not be a problem.
Listen, hello. If I have a computer and it got fried and doesn't work anymore or whatever it is, and now I'm gonna say it's like you're not talking about the processor.
How are we bringing it on his back?
You don't talk about its processor anymore. You don't talk about whatever it is. This is the machlekes. The machlekes is your ha'ara is the machlekes. The chazal is it called a tail? Do you call things a tail when it's not doing the function anymore? So one of the days in chazal agrees with you. So it's not worth fighting about.
Just by the way, a computer that can't compute is a her.
Is it what?
Different expression.
Now you can I won't be able to put this on either.
I'm joking.
That's a Sudas Achashverosh Vashti line. You're now Mamuchan. You're Haman. Okay?
Now it's in the books.
Haman.
Now back to.
We'll call you
I'm
Haman.
back to where I started.
We'll call Haman. Here's the verse.
So-
Let me go fast. I want to go fast. So here's where it starts. Fast. So in A's, a goat doesn't have a tail. I want to tie that that's why it's called an A's. What does the word A's mean?
Go.
What is Azus?
Chutzpah.
Chutzpah. Brazenness is the opposite. The opposite of tznius. Right? Netzach isha zoina. The midah of zoina is brazenness. Azos is the opposite of tznius. So the goat is called an A's because it doesn't have a tail. It represents fifing on, like, I'm not covered up. I'm not covered up, and I got my tail only sticks up, doesn't cover anything. That's what a goat represents. That's trippy. Where does it get interesting though is What is the adjective normally associated for the holiness of tznius? Which trait of
Color.
the pasuk? It's a pasuk. What is the makar pasuk of tznius?
Snail lechus called food.
That's nice, but Snei Lechus is talking about like in life and business and everything. And women's tznius. Called kavud. You're really right. One more pasuk, maybe the second best pasuk. We can argue which one's more important. Oiz v'hadol levusha. Oiz v'hadol levusha. What is the midah associated with tznius? Oiz. So how could it be that oiz, az, represents megula, and oiz represents mechusa? The same word is the word to use for aiz is called an aiz because it's not covered up, and the woman who's levusha, oiz v'hadol levusha, we call it oiz. What's the word? So, this is the secret of, I think, the whole pshat in the most important thing on Yom Kippur. The Shnei Seirei Izim. There are two Izim, two goats that are identical, and one goes LaShem, one goes LaZazo. The midah of oiz, of azos, of oiz, an aiz can be azos or oiz. This is the single worst translation. A lot of things are lost in Yiddishkeit, in Torah, when you translate Torah to English. The worst example of that is translating tznius as modesty. Modesty is literally the worst translation, because modesty makes tznius sound like meek, like not so big, powerful. It's more still, squelch your, right? You tone it down. When the Torah's trait for tznius is oiz, is power, is strength. Our understanding of tznius, which we'll do better next time, but is that tznius is the most powerful. When Vashti would not have come in, when the woman says no, when the woman acts a malchus, the entire world falls at her feet. There's nothing more powerful than an isha tznuah. That's what oiz is. Tznius isn't meekness. Tznius is loudest voice in the room. There's nothing more powerful than silence. Nothing that confidence that comes from not needing to prove anything. There's nothing like that. So, oiz and az are the two versions of strength. One is strength is a trait of an aiz, but an aiz can become oiz, or it could become az. Az is fake strength, belligerent. What is chutzpah? We don't have to do it now. I want to cover all the ground, but you could literally study the difference between dignity and chutzpah. They're both strong, and that's why it's two goats. The midah of strength can be oizna. One's a sir Hashem. This is the avodah of, and that's what Lazazel is. Azazel is ezes. It's both eizim. One goes Hashem. They're identical. It's just, the side is this midah of Klal Yisrael. Am k'shei oiref. This midah of this, we can become this or that. You can be dignified or you can be rebellious. It's not a niche sugya. Dignity or chutzpah is the avodah Yom Kippur. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing. It's the Sila Hashem, Sila Zazel, the Shnei Seirei. This is a sugya. Okay. Once you go there, so that's what an ace is. So where do you go next? So in I don't even know what to do with all this stuff. When Yaakov wants to give Yosef the brachas, right? So he tells when Yitzchak wants to give Yaakov the brachas, he tells Esau, he convinces Esau, he tells Esau, go tzudol itzaydav v'hovdi madam. Rivka tells Yaakov, I just heard your father send Esau out to bring him food. Quick, listen to me. Go to the pen, bring me shnei gediyei izim, ve'esei oisam matamim. How much food is Yitzchak going to eat? She has to go kill two goats for one guy. Why is she telling me, bring me shnei gediyei izim, ve'esei oisam mat'am. I'm going to make both of them delicious. What's the sugya? And she's telling Yaakov a whole new step. Until this moment, there's something called oiz and something called az. Oiz is good and az is bad. But Rivka says, no, bring me both izim. And I'm going to make them both matam. If you get involved in Kabbalah and in these deep Chassidus, there's something called Azus Dekdusha. You ever heard the Lashon? Azus Dekdusha? Nachman's very busy with it in Tehillim, in Tefillin, by Tefillin, in Kutei Halachas. He talks about Azus Dekdusha, like pages. What's going on is there's two midas. And normally, I set it up now. Again, we didn't spend time on it, but I've set it up that the A's can go both ways. It could be oiz or it could be azus. It could be dignity or belligerence, and that's the two seirim. And now we see that not only that, but there's a way to even make both izim holy. Vasei oisam matamim. And where does that happen? That's what happens in the story, where Yaakov says, "Ani esad b'karecha," and he steals the bracha. The whole stealing of the bracha is the matamim of the oiz and the az, where she took. Don't be meek. This is not the time to be meek. You have to be strong. You have to be az and say ani es. He says ani es b'cherecha. And all of that is said in the words ani of shnei gediyei izim v'asei oisam matamim. Today we have a holiness called dignity and a holiness called asas. So all dignity is holy and all maybe interesting. Maybe there's a fake. Maybe just like there's a dignity that's fake, Vashti's tail, fake dignity. There's holy. There's two in each. Okay, that's a chiddush this year. Okay, but here's the trickiest one. Just so you realize it's real. When in the Mishkan, there's the beautiful Urias, is the Tcheles Hagaman, the one that Kruvim, lions, eagles, whatever was on there, right? That's what covered that's the first covering. On top of that was the Urias Izim. Goat skin Urias covered the Mishkan. The difference between the Urias Izim and the Urias of the wool was what?
4.
One was 10 and one was 11. 4 extra amis. What happened with the 4 extra amis? The Serach ha'oidev min ha-Mishkan, the extra fabric Mishkan, me'achoyrei. What does that look like to you? The izim in the A's in the Mishkan has a tail. The A's is the tail of the Mishkan. I don't know what that means. I'm doing it, but it's zicher there. It's there. I'm not making it up. There's no other way to look at it. And just in case you think that maybe you can say it's coincidence and it's random and is they still too the Mefarshim should say the Tosfos is that might even be a Gemara. I don't remember it's years, but that's why a kala they say that behind the Mishkan it was saruach, one nama went out on the floor, like a kala. When she goes to, or matronisa, when they go, they have a train. The train. So the Mishkan had a train. So now we know what the train is. What's the aside of a kala with the train? It's the serach ha'oidev, which is what? Which is the tail, which is dignity. That there's a tail. That the A's grew in the Mishkan. The A's grew a tail. The Mishkan is the oilam bishlei musa, where the A's, and that's a serach oidev in this entire. It's amazing. There's a whole different level, izim. But now you have to go through the Torah. Every time you find the word A's, it's amazing. A's is the need to silence the dreams, go full circle. Yosef is the balach haloimos. Yosef is the ultimate dreamer in the Torah. Right? I ever told you Yosef balach is Torah? One of my first deep Torahs. I'm not going to do it now. It's over. But it's the Baal Chalim is a very important term. But Yosef doesn't mean he's a dream. It means he represents. The brothers couldn't deal with Yosef not because of the text of his dreams. You're going to bow down. They didn't like that he was dreaming. They hated him out because they hated him. He said, "I had a dream," and they hated him. He didn't even tell them the dream yet. He tells them the dream afterwards. Now they hate him more al chaloy myself al divarav on the words. But they hated him as soon as he said, "I had a dream," because they hate Yosef for dreaming. Because everybody starts off as dreamers, and then we get clobbered and we go through stuff and we stop dreaming, and then the dreamer is a threat to all of us. That's Mordechai, who doesn't bow, and because Yosef comes from the marriage of Yaakov and Rachel. Right? Yaakov worked 14 years to marry his mother. So when you grow up in a house like that, where the father looks at the mother like that, so all the trauma in the world, your Rebbe could say anything. You could have the most brutal mashgiach in the world, and you're unfazed. Nobody knocked the worst shadchan. Nobody can do anything. That's what Chazal want you to see. They describe that he's writing poetry and brushing his hair, and they want you to see that he's like still this like giggly, because he comes from the Av of Yaakov Rachel, the greatest Av ever. He's bulletproof, literally Teflon. The brothers grow up in the house of Leah, was a snua, so she's names all her kids after her tsar. Reuven, Hashem sees my pain. Shimon, Hashem sees here. Levi, this time my husband will come to me. So the brothers lost their whole. When Yosef comes and says, "I had a dream," they hate him. They want to sell him Magiu Chaloy Maisav. They want to wipe that smile. They want to knock him down. Now you have to explain the brothers. I have Torah on that. The Torah is better than the Kasha, but it's a good. But it's. I don't want to sound like I'm messing with the Shvatim, but for purposes now, I'm messing with them. But the Torah, but that's the Shvatim. So Yosef's the Baal Chaloimes. So that's the best ending for the shir is that Yosef's the dreamer. He's like the original. When the dreamer walks into the room of everybody who gave up, so they need a mamish. They feel like Haman did. You know, you don't want to be called out, or like everyone by Sudas Achasherish when she says no. So what do you want to do? You have to sell Yosef the same way you have to kill Vashti and kill Mordechai. We have to silence the dreams. So what do they do? How do they silence the dreams? What do they do? They shecht and what bothered them most was his coat. The coat of like the colorful coat, the lichtige that showed that Yaakov loved him was the Ben Zekunim. They took off Vayavshitu as a kutanto yasher olav, and they put it in the dam. Which dam? What did they shecht? They put it into they shechted in Eiz, and they drowned his coat in the dam of the Izim. It was that's the attempt to silence that majesty of Yosef, the dignity of Yosef, Yosef's coat. Yosef's all about begotten. That's a whole different thing. If you follow Yosef's life, the consistent thing in Yosef's life is he has clothing being put on and taken off him every 5 minutes. Yaakov gives him ksainas. Potiphar's wife is ripping off his clothing. There's a chutzah that he comes to jail, and Parai is vayachlev simloisov, and then the brothers come and he gives them smalois, and the Binyamin he gives 5 small. It's begodim, smalois, ksainas, every lashon, they're all by Yosef. Yosef is this. Yosef's the dignity, but they dip it in the blood of the A's. So whatever this is, I'm just stirring up a whole sugya here. The sugya of Azos versus Oiz. You can't do this in a regular shir. You have to. But that's where to get started in this Torah. Any other E's in the Torah that we didn't think of? Can you think of any more?
I like Karbanis, let them have goals.
Yeah.
Left or right? I don't know.
What?
To shaft your eggs.
That's awesome.
What? We did the Azazel. That was what we said. The Azazel is the